On this episode of Carnage, we've got a Swedish car with a Japanese motor and an Aussie ECU. This is our 1983 Volvo, which we've nicknamed the Trolvo. It's got a 1JZ in it, so 2.5 litre twin turbo straight six, and it should make a lot of power. We've bought this thing as an unfinished project. We've already done the tail shaft, intercooler and piping, and a bunch of just little hardware jobs. But now it is time for the wiring. The original plan was to fire this thing up using the factory loom and factory ECU, and then migrate to a Haltech down the track. We've decided, why punish ourselves? Why not go straight to the Haltech? In fact, we have one right here. So we also have one of their pre-terminated looms. It's the Suda 2JZ, but we should be able to adapt that to our 1JZ, get this thing fired up in no time. So let's get this thing in position and get this party started. So let's have a look at our Haltech goodies. We'll start with the ECU. Comes in a very nice box. So we've got the Elite 2000 because it's set up for this pre-terminated harness here. So obviously you've got your COM ports and stuff in there and CAN bus. It's all set up like you just plug in, basically your harness plugs into there, and then you've got your boost / vacuum line there. Also comes with a comms cable, which we will need for the laptop later on, and a quick start guide, which we will definitely need. Then we've got our igniter, so that's to fire all the coils and that sort of thing. So we will definitely need that. Now, we have our ignition harness, which is already pre-terminated. So basically, the igniter will plug into that. Let's make sure I've got it right before I try and push it in. But yeah, so that plugs into that, and then our ignition harness will plug in. Obviously, there's our coil connections, so they're all labelled. So that's number 1. That one's number 6, and there'll be 4 others in between. So ground wire, and then that's the connection point to go into this main loom. All right, so there's some extra plugs, a quick start guide for the harness. Now, so this harness comes with everything, as you can imagine. So, big old grommet for those that love going through a firewall and love reminding me to put grommets on holes. Comes with a little, no, it is a fuse box. So it's got fuses and relays in there. Now that, I believe, is our plug that plugs to our igniter. So basically that will plug into that. So our igniter connects to our ECU. ECU will plug into, where are they? These 2 connections here. So we've got a small plug and a big plug. So the small plug goes there, and the big plug goes click, damn you, there you go. It's the first time we plugged it in, so it's a bit fresh. These are all your extra outputs, and yeah, for triggering whatever you need to trigger.
Looks daunting, but they're all labelled.
That's right. And then we've got our actual engine harness plugs here. So, and they are also labelled, which is fantastic. So, got stuff like crank angle, earth and power, alternator, So it looks a bit daunting, but it actually is pretty much plug and play. So we'll have to rip off the old harness and then basically lay this new harness over the engine and start plugging it in where we need it. So yeah, I reckon we'll get that old loom off, get into it. There's something you will find with these older engines. I mean, this engine's probably, what, at least 20, 25 years old. Something you will find is that the plugs get very fragile. So when you push the little tab to pull them out, the tab will snap in most cases because, you know, all the plastic's old and it's got fragile. It's no longer pliable. So yeah, we're finding a lot of broken tabs and even breaking some ourselves. Now it's time to fit that. All of that. To be honest, it's not that scary. This part goes in the cabin. We got our two connectors that go to our ECU, one to our igniter, and a fuse box. That's all pretty simple. On this end, all this goes to the engine. Basically, everything you need from injectors to sensors to TPS, it's all pre-terminated, all ready to plug and play. Well, hopefully. Anyway, let's start running it in. Okay, so one of the first jobs we need to do is work out how we're bringing our loom through the firewall. Now, we've got two holes there already. One is about 45 millimeters. It's too small to fit our 52 mil grommet that came on our Haltech loom. And then we've got this hole, which someone has attempted to go through the firewall and then found themselves up against this reinforcing strut on the inside and found they couldn't complete the hole. So they've kind of bent it back, but you know, that's weird as well. So what we're going to have to do is bend that back and then drill a smaller hole through there to suit our grommet. Fun. Hi. So, the perfect tools for the job. Oh, look at that. All the gear. So, I reckon one of us holds the inside with that, the other one smacks it from the outside. Sorts of little goodies in here, isn't there? Happy? Good. Ah, that's going to be fun to weld up. Jesus, look at the gap. All right, it is time to drill. Yeah. we really should weld that before we go too much farther. It's actually hot. Ow, burnies. Yeah, I think I might use one of the other discs. I'm not really happy with a flappy disc on that. That's some thick paint. It's actually not too bad. Let's check the inside of the car, make sure it's not on fire. To be honest, that is better than expected. I'm going to call that done. We'll give it a bit of a flappy disc and whack some paint on it. I'm actually pretty happy with that. I know a lot of people out there, because you know everyone on the internet can weld, will be complaining about that, but I am actually remarkably surprised that it has come out that good considering the angle and where it's at and all that. I'm actually happy with that. Yeah. Man, I love this welder. And best of all, didn't need this. This is where the old flappy disc excels. Never said I was a welder, I'm a grinder. If only this hole had been the right size, hey? Missed it by that much. Okay, we'll call that done. We'll just let that dry and then we'll start feeding some loom through. Feed it. So we'll feed, because the grommet has to go in to the hole that way, we'll feed all this engine stuff from inside the cabin and then seat that grommet, and then we can start to connect all our wires. And then inside we'll have to find positions for our fuse box and where our ECU is going to mount. So our problem at the moment is that the wiring loom for the engine is also integrated into the wiring loom for the transmission. So all this stuff needs to be fed up through the manifold so we can pull the engine loom out, but there's also one that runs down to the transmission. So we're going to have to unplug all of that as well.
Alright.
Wow, that cleans up the engine. So I was just looking at bolting our fuel rail back in. Yes, I know it's filthy. So it's got these side feed injectors. So they were a thing, you know, in the 90s. You don't see it much anymore. Everything's top feed now. But yeah, we're going to bolt this back into place. And I thought, just out of curiosity, oh, let's just check to see if our injector loom plugs into our fuel rail. So if we come over here, we pull out an injector plug, there we go, number 6, and we try and whack that on there. She no go. Now we could probably convert that to suit these, but why? We're going to ditch these anyway. So our first problem that has popped up is we will have to buy a fuel rail to suit top feed injectors. We have a set of injectors sitting there already, actually the old ones out of the Mazda, so we'll use them. They're good 1000cc E85 injectors, they'll support plenty of power, but we need a fuel rail to support that, so we're going to have to buy ourselves a new fuel rail to suit our new injectors. So that is our first stumbling block. Now we've had a bit of a hiccup with our progress because we really need to get those injectors in, get that fuel rail in, and there's a whole bunch of stuff that needs to go in over top of that. Unfortunately, we're at a bit of a standstill until we get that fuel rail, but we've ordered one from Golby's in Queensland. That'll be here in a couple of days. So we're going to have to move on to like fuel pumps, fuel lines, regulator, all that sort of stuff. But you're going to see all that in a future episode of Carnage.